When you destroy merit, you destroy the very ladder that lifts a nation. Good morning and welcome to Big Story on Daybreak Live. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako, and today we are confronting a hard truth about Nigeria's public service, a system that was once built on excellence but now stands threatened by corruption and favoritism. Our focus this morning is on a compelling topic: when merit fails, how job racketeering threatens the future of public service. In recent years, reports of recruitment scandals, job slot sales, and political patronage have raised troubling questions about fairness, competence, and the value of hard work in Nigeria's civil and public institutions. When jobs are bought instead of earned, governance suffers. But beyond the outrage, what's really at stake for the future of public administration, and can the system be fixed? Joining me to unpack this issue is Afina Ebeselime, a public affairs analyst and researcher who has studied governance patterns and public sector reforms across Nigeria. Together, we'll trace how meritocracy began to erode, what it has cost us, and how genuine reforms can still save the public. Stay with us this morning. This is Big Story. Welcome on board, Afina.
Good morning, Jimmy.
It's good to have you this morning.
I'm delighted to be here this morning.
All right, so let's start from the basics now. When we say job racketeering in Nigeria, what exactly do we mean?
When we are talking about job racketeers, job racketeers are syndicates who exploit desperate job seekers. That's one thing you must know about them. Desperate job seekers. And often promise their victim with fake job vacancies. Now, when we're talking about job racketeering in this country, there have been a lot of problems in this country. The civil service happened to be the backbone of any nation. But now it has been bedeviled with what? Corruption. And that is a big problem. It's a big problem. Now, let me give an example. In the civil service structure today, we have falsification of age. We have falsification of academic certificate. We have those that are there who don't want to even retire based on the civil service rule. So when we are talking about meritocracy in the civil service, it has been compromised in Nigeria. So that's a big problem for now. Now we're having year in, year out, we are turning out millions of graduates. There are no jobs for them. So the tendency is there for those that are in the civil service not to be willing to retire, not to be willing to leave the job, so that there can be what we call new entrants. So I think that is what is actually propelling the idea called job racketeering. Because when you're talking about those job racketeers, they are syndicates who exploit desperate job seekers and often promise their victim with fake job vacancies. This syndicate usually float what we call online media platform with fake adverts in order to dupe unsuspecting job applicants. So in Nigeria today, there is a big problem. When we are talking about job, there are no jobs for now because Nigeria is not an industrialized nation. We are only a consumption nation, and there is the problem on ground. A big problem on ground. Human capital development in Nigeria is low. When we are talking about human capital development, you are talking about investment in education. Is it not rather sad? We have graduates in this country, yet there is no job for them. Let me give you a simple analysis. Let's assume we are having 1 million graduates, and these graduates, they are gainfully employed into the civil service, or they are self-employed. Now, they have to pay their tax as a civil responsibility. Let's assume they are paying 1 naira as tax. What will that amount to? 1 naira multiplied by 1 million persons. We give you what? 1 million naira. And it's going to stimulate economic growth. But here we're having 1 million unemployed graduates. What are they going to contribute? 0 naira. So 0 naira multiplied by 1 million, what will it give you? It gives you 0. That shows that the country is losing. So there is a big problem on ground. Most graduates are not employed today. They want to be employed. They are willing to get job, but the job is not there. The opportunity is not even there. That is why we have what we call brain drain. People exiting from the shores of Nigeria. So we have a lot of problems. So when we are talking about the civil service structure, sometimes it is also overbloated. You remember Steve Oronsoye committee on civil service commission. He said the time has come for us to streamline the civil service. There is what we call duplication of responsibility. Too many ministries, departments, and agencies of government. So how do we now streamline it? There is going to be a lot of problems. When you are trying to streamline, fine, you want to reduce the cost of governance. But what about the cost? It will affect certain persons because there is bound, certain persons are bound to lose their jobs. Okay. And nobody wants to lose his or her job presently because of the high level of inflation in the country.
Okay, before we turn to public service now, because that's really like the bone of contention for this morning, what happens to creating, jobs for yourself? Because I know of graduates, even masters, degree holders, that have created jobs for themselves, employment for themselves because of the lack of jobs in the country. Can that not fly?
Sometimes it brings in what we call innovation. Sometimes unemployment brings what we call ideas. It creates ideas indirectly. Okay. Because you need food for survival. Okay. You need money to spend. So the job is not there. Sometimes you now sit down. How do I provide job for myself? So indirectly I'm saying that unemployment sometimes stimulates what we call or create what we call ideas. So there is nothing wrong if you want to be self-employed. There is nothing as good as being a boss of your own. There is nothing as good as that. But not every one of us will be opportune to become boss of our own, to become CEOs. So we need jobs. But the problem we're having in this country is this. The government has failed in creating an enabling environment whereby industries can be established. Do you know what politicians are doing now these days? They build hotels. That was why I was not surprised the other time when one of the government aid was saying that prostitutes have to pay tax. Is that not derogatory and disgusting? You are not talking about how do we build industries and business firms in Nigeria. You are talking that prostitutes will henceforth be paying tax. Why? Because most of these politicians, they build hotels. They are more involved in the service sector. I'm not saying that building hotels is bad, but we don't need that in this country. When you look at Nigeria as a country, it is more of a religious country, though we are not godly. But what we need is what? Building of industries. These politicians, they fail to build industries. They are more interested in building what called hotels. And you are seeing one of them saying that very soon, prostitutes, called girls, will be paying tax. Do you add it to your GDP? Prostitution happens to be the longest profession in the world, but you cannot compute it as part of your GDP as a nation.
It's a sad one, really. Now let's turn to the issue of appointment in Nigeria. Some Nigerians and even analysts have argued so much to say that we had better appointment. I mean, right from 1960 when we gained independence, First Republic 1963, Second Republic 79, Third Republic 83, and of course Fourth Republic 1999. Compared to what we have seen, maybe in the last 10-15 years, they are saying appointment now is based on loyalty rather than merit. And that's why governance is not working. Do you agree with that?
Is our economy working? Rather than meritocracy, what we have done is the tribalism, religious sentiment. When it comes to the issue of appointment, political appointment, when it comes to the issue of giving employment to people, based on what? Religious affiliation, based on what? Tribal leanings. It does not work well. There is one thing I like about Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. He transformed Singapore from a third world country to a first world country. And there are three things he used. One, meritocracy. Two, pragmatism. And three, honesty. Nigeria got it all wrong because we have allowed tribal sentiment and religious sentiment to overshadow our thinking faculty, and that's a big problem. When we are talking about merit, we have those that are intellectually sound and capable. Look at the media industry. The CEOs are interested in people that are really sound when it comes to issue of delivery. You must not compromise. But in the civil service structure, what happened now? There's a lot of compromise. Political patronage is there. So the thing is not working. We are even having ministries, departments, and agencies of government today that do not generate revenue for the country. Is that not a problem? Ministries, departments, and agencies of government must generate revenue if we want to stimulate what we call economic growth. We are getting it wrong in this country. Then the quota system in the civil service, that quota system has become a problem in this country. Even in the issue of admission, do we not have admission racketeering? The quota system has become a problem. And that is what has overshadowed meritocracy in the civil service structure in Nigeria. It's a big problem. We are no longer interested in meritocracy again. What we are interested in is what? Political loyalty, political patronage. That's a big problem. So when you look at the economy of Nigeria, it's not actually working as expected because we have failed in that regard. You have to employ people based on merit, not based on tribal sentiment, not based on religious sentiment, not based on political patronage or party because you want to please someone. That is why the capitalist economy in the West is stronger than that of Africa, but there is no compromise. When there is job advert, you come with your credentials. There is a committee that will veto it, vet it, look at it. You know, there is a lot of what we call fake certificates among civil servants. Have you not heard about it before?
And some resigned recently because of certificate forgery.
That must be prosecution, so that we serve as a deterrent. They defrauded us. It's not fair. This is not how to rule the civil service. Duplication of what? Offices. Too many duplication. That is why the cost of governance in Nigeria is so high. 70% of our resources, financial resources, goes for where? In taking care of what? The civil service. And also political appointees. 30% is now left for what? Capital development. So when you are talking about capital development, you are talking about road infrastructure, building of bridges, building of seaport, airport, investing in the education, investing in the healthcare delivery system. So there is a problem on ground in Nigeria. So what we need is what? Civil service reform. And when there is going to be reform, some people are bound to lose their job. But it must be for national interest. There is what we call vested public interest, or what we call overriding public interest. So, and which must be supreme.
Okay, let's start an instance now. There was a time Malam Nasir El-Rufai was shortlisted for a ministerial slot in 2023. But at the end of the day, it could not pass the screening exercise because the Senate said because of some security issues, they cannot, pass him. So now, Ina came out recently to say that this is because of some of the issues that he thinks he has with the president. He said he thinks the president has something to do with it because according to him, he's not a man that will bow to anything that is not right. That will not benefit the country. What do you make of that? Because sometimes it was beginning to look like, okay, maybe Nasir El-Rufai will not listen to the president on certain things, and that was why the Senate did not pass him, to become a minister for the country.
The president actually nominated Malam Nasir El-Rufai, the former executive governor of Kaduna State. He was actually nominated, but his nomination was stepped down on the floor of the Senate as a result of what? DSS report. So when we are talking about political appointments in this country, it must be subjected under scrutiny by the Department of State Services to know whether this person has committed a criminal offense before, to know if this person is actually a Nigerian, to know if this person has what we call dual citizenship based on the Constitution. So if the Senate decided to step down his nomination based on security report, it's not the fault of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCF.
I think it was political in any way.
Whether you say it was political or not, when you are talking about Malam Nasir El-Rufai, is synonymous with terrorism.
Can you prove that?
The fact is there.
In what sense?
Mercenary fighters. They were the one that imported it. For 8 good years, there was no peace in Kaduna State. He's on the run now. Malam Nasir El-Rufai is on the run. The same thing also applies to Sheikh Ahmad Gumi. Let us call a spade a spade. National interest. We are talking about national security. Why will some group of persons hold this country to ransom because of their own personal ambition and personal interest? Was I the one that stepped him down on the floor of the Senate? No! That was the report on ground. He was supposed to face prosecution according to the Nigerian law. Someone might come up today and say, Ofido, they say you are a criminal. You have to sue me to court. If I win, I will not come and sue you back for blackmail. That is how it should be. But it's rather sad and unfortunate that there are too many problems in this country, what I call shenanigans. You know, the other time we were saying something about job racketeering.
Yes.
Job racketeers are syndicates who exploit desperate job seekers and often promise their victims non-existing jobs or fake job vacancies. These syndicates usually present fake identities and false business contact to unsuspecting job applicants. More so, these syndicates float online media platforms with fake adverts about available job spaces in the country. They also hack into job portals of government MDAs and private business firms to dupe unsuspecting job seekers. Beware of job racketeers. They are real and not imaginary. Don't part away with the little you have as a job seeker. We have to be honest to ourselves. There is a lot of problem in this country. A lot of problem. Sometimes I ask myself, is this really a country? What sort of human being are we? We are talking about national interest. What will benefit every one of us as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. When you say you are the giant of Africa, your economy must be adjudged to be the strongest in Africa. Your currency must be adjudged to be the strongest currency in Africa. Your healthcare delivery system must be adjudged to be the best in Africa. Your educational system must be adjudged to be the best in Africa. But what are we having? Look at the civil service structure. Be dealing with what? With corruption. It is not easy for the president or the governor to steal public funds without connivance from the civil service, especially director of finance. This is what we know. So when we are talking about civil servants, how many of them today are actually honest? How many of them today are willing to build the nation? Most of them have compromised. They have compromised. That is why we lost it as a nation. There is a problem. We are talking about job racketeers now. Those job racketeers, they are syndicates. They struggle to survive. That is why they decided to go into fraud, to defraud unsuspecting job applicants. I'm not saying that it is morally justified. No, but I'm just trying to tell you the causality effect of job racketeering in this country and the problem of quota system. We have admission racketeering too. Then look at the issue of quota system in tertiary institution in this country. The same thing also applies in the civil service. The same thing also applies in the Nigerian Armed Forces too. Paramilitary institution, quota system between the north and the south. Not even purely based on meritocracy.
What about the judiciary system now? Many have also argued that these appointments are also based on who can bend to my rules. In terms of, okay, you take this position, you take that position, because most time, a lot of Nigerians have complained that the judiciary is more, complicated than ever.
How just is the justice system in Nigeria? A judge is supposed to be incorruptible and also independent, but based on what? Political appointment and political patronage. You remember during the days of Buhari, what happened to Onoge? Frivolous charges. They removed him and decided to bring a man who to become our chief judge. There is one man that became our chief judge, the one that Buhari brought. after accusing Onoge of corrupt practices. You can see what happened in the judiciary. There is no separation of power when we are talking about the three arms of government. And because of what? The politicians. The politicians bastardized the judiciary in this country. Then the judicial officer became a prey. And it's rather sad and unfortunate. Most of the judges are not being well paid. They are not being well paid. So there is a problem on ground. So there should be what we call financial autonomy for the judiciary. If we want them to be truly independent and also incorruptible. But if there is no financial autonomy in the judiciary, there is bound to be corrupt judges.
What about electing them rather than appointing them now?
Now, there is one thing you must know, that we have what we call the National Judicial Council, NJC. They are saddled with that responsibility of deciding who becomes the Chief Judge of the Federal Republic of Nigeria based on seniority. But you know, when we are talking about the judicial system, it's into levels. We have the state high court, we have the federal high court. But sometimes in law, they say some of these courts have what we call superior jurisdiction. So we are having conflicting judgments in Nigeria. It's a problem in the judiciary. It's a big problem when we are having what we call conflicting court judgment. There is one thing I like in mathematics. Do you know what I like in mathematics? 1 + 1 = 2. It's the same all over the world. But in the judiciary, it's not like that. Conflicting court judgment. Some go to the judiciary to buy judgment. Sometimes judgments are given to the highest bidder. The judge sold out his conscience. The law must not be emotional. Judges must not be sentimental. They must not be emotional. Look at the symbol of the legal profession. A woman that is blindfolded. What does that mean? There must be justice for all. The judge must be impartial. But here today we are having what we call biased judgment. We are having what we call conflicting judgment. So there is a big problem on ground. So when we are talking about the judiciary too, sometimes we say they are also part of the civil service structure of the country. But there is a big problem on ground. The issue of meritocracy that has been compromised is a big problem. Nothing as good as merit. A genius is a genius. A genius is someone that makes complex problem simple. That's a genius for you. The problem is so complex, but the genius will come and make it to become what? Simple. But look at what we are having in the civil service structure in Nigeria today. Corruption has destroyed the civil service. Not just that alone. Look at the issue of the Nigerian armed forces. There is high-level corruption. That is what has affected national security too. Though we can say they are not part of the civil service structure, because they are specialized structure. When you are talking about the Nigerian armed forces, they are not part of the civil service. But the civil service of any nation happen to be the backbone of the economy, aside micro and small scale businesses. But it's rather sad and unfortunate that in this country, what do we have? We have undermined the civil service structure in this country. It wasn't like that before. But politicians decided to introduce what we call political patronage into the civil service. It's not like that before. It wasn't like that before. The civil service is supposed to be independent. It's supposed to be institutionalized. That is how it's supposed to be. Okay. But now it's not like that. What we're having is these governors coming, trying to recruit their own men. They will recruit their own men. The same thing applies to the president too. It's not good. It's not supposed to be that. The day you apply for a job and you are given that job, you know the number of years you are going to spend before retiring. It's there, it's fixed. But on a daily basis, people are retiring. In the civil service structure today, like ASU, do you know ASU is complaining that they are being overburdened? When I was young, a professor was entitled to 2 graduate assistants. Does this apply today in the university? No! Everything has been monetized. It has been monetized. When Europeans were here in UI, University of Ibadan, Europeans, Europeans that were professors there, they were attached to what? 2 graduate assistants. They were there just to assist them. But here in this country, there is nothing like that anymore. That is why you see a lot of lecturers dying. Some of them are sick. The workload is too much on them. It's unbearable. That is why some of them want to leave the shores of this country. Who told you that there are no job vacancies in the civil service? There are. Okay, but the government has failed in trying to recruit jobless graduates who are supposed to complement the economy and make it to work.
It's a sad situation, really. But then we've also seen some appointments that are actually working in this country, this present administration. Take the Minister of Interior, for instance. Olubunmi Tudiodo is doing an excellent job. So do you think it's about appointment now or about the individual himself or herself? Because we've seen some appointment work, regardless of whether it was based on loyalty or maybe this person has worked with the president or the governor before. Because we've seen some persons, appointed and they are doing so well, while others, are performing below.
You said the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi, is working, is performing. That's your own personal opinion about it.
Not my personal opinion, what Nigerians are saying.
Not Nigeria, not the majority.
Okay. But the majority are saying...
He also has an issue on ground.
Okay, what issue is that?
He has an issue on ground.
What issue is that?
Concerning his NYSC certificate. He has an issue on ground. In a same country, he has to resign. He has an issue. Between two evil, you go for the lesser evil, although evil is not good. He has an issue. If you are fighting for justice in this country, you must be a just man. If you are fighting for integrity in this country, you must be a man of integrity. You said he's performing. Fine.
No, don't say you said he's performing. If you need to go online so that you can see for yourself. A lot of persons are giving him the accolades and appraisal to say that he's doing much more better than the past Minister of Interior compared to what they've seen in Nigeria. A lot of persons 5-10 years ago, they don't even know who the Minister of Interior is because they are not hearing so much about that ministry. But now, Olubunmi Tudiodo, you see him in the news.
How much can you get the Nigerian passport now?
Yes, the price has gone up.
Is it supposed to be like that?
I mean, you tell me.
It was a conspiracy.
Okay.
When Nigerians were willing to leave the shores of their fatherland for greener pastures, and they felt that the only way to do it is for them to increase the Nigerian passport. Before then, there was one thing they did. They were trying to place embargo on doctors who were graduates. Young graduates who were doctors. Some of them wanted to leave the shores of this country. They now decided to create something that before you leave the shores of this country, you will have served Nigeria for almost 5 or 10 years before you can be allowed to live as a doctor. Are they being fair? To me, he's not performing.
Really?
He's not performing. Because there is an issue on ground. No matter how he has performed, he has a stain already. That NYSC certificate is an issue. It's an issue. We are talking about job racketeering. You remember what happened? The Minister of Science and Technology, Unaji, who deceived 200 million people with a fake university certificate. He deceived the president. He deceived the nation. He deceived the Senate committee that was in charge of screening him. Is it me fair? Is that a good idea? No matter whatever he has done that is good, all end with what? With shame.
What about the Minister of Power, Ofino? How well do you think he's performing?
Say Minister of Power
yes.
That goes around with a power bank. When we are talking about Minister of Power, is he supposed to be in charge of that ministry? Somebody that read accounting and economics. We are getting it wrong in this country. They gave him an appointment because of political patronage. He was given that ministry because of what? Political patronage. And we are talking about meritocracy. There's a problem in this country. This country, Nigeria is not a failed nation, but we have a failed government in the past and a failing government in the present. That's an issue on ground. So we have to be frank and sincere to ourselves. When we are talking about the power sector, it's into 3. We have generation, transmission, and distribution. And you can see that the power sector in Nigeria is partially what? Deregulated. It has been partially what? There's deregulation presently. We have the GENCOs. We have the transcos, then we have what we call the discos, who is in charge of distribution. But what about the generation? Do you know South Africa, as it is today, South Africa generates over 55,000 megawatts of electricity. But Nigeria generates less than 5,000 megawatts, the giant of Africa.
But the grid is old.
Even though there are old infrastructures in there, you can generate electricity from different ways. Okay. You can generate electricity from hydro, that is water. You can generate electricity from wind. You can generate electricity from solar. You can generate electricity from what we call geothermal. You can generate electricity from coal. It's there. But we're having problem in this country. Do you know why? We are having leaders that are short-sighted. They don't care about the human welfare. They are less concerned. Nature has blessed this country abundantly. Nature has been so fair to us. There is no resources Nigeria don't have. But the only problem we have is this. We don't have leaders that are humane, who believe in human dignity. And that has been a problem. So when we are talking about Adelabu, Bayo Adelabu, we are talking about him. You are trying to fix, you must fix a round peg inside a round hole. In that ministry that they gave to him, it was based on political patronage. He was not even supposed to be there. And you look at what happened to the late Bola Ige. He was also given appointment. The late Bola Ige was given appointment as the minister of what? Power. And at the end of the day, as a result of conspiracy, he failed until they now decide to reassign him and gave him the appointment as what? The Attorney General of the Federation, AGF. It's rather sad and unfortunate that he was assassinated. Yet, Nigerian government has failed to identify and arrest those who assassinated our own Bola Ige. Rather sad and unfortunate. Look at Engineer Fashola too. He was appointed as the Minister of Power and Works. Look at those minutes, they combine it together. At the end of the day, what happened? Was there a success? No! We have failed. So now, when we are talking about power in this country was for exclusive list. The federal government alone has the power to generate electricity. But now, it has been decentralized. So states can also generate their own power. I wouldn't know if local government have the financial capacity to generate their own independent power. But for now,
states in the south is already doing it.
Working
for them.
That is the beauty of federalism. That is how it should be. States should generate their own independent power supply. That's the truth. So when you are talking about a political appointment into ministries, it should be purely based on merit and what you study. So like for Adebayo, Adelabu, yes, Adelabu.
What you study, we have seen some appointment in this country that is based on what they study, but they still fumbled.
Did they represent their university well?
So sometimes it's not about what you studied in school, it's about more of experience. The things you've done, because we've seen a lot of situations whereby, have you not seen, even in the media space, I've seen a doctor who is doing so well in broadcasting. This person read medicine and surgery.
Yeah, you have to work on yourself as an individual. Most people today who study medicine was not the course that was in their mind. Probably some of them want to study what we call music. You can see our own Chief Femi Falana. He has a son who is an artist now. He wanted that boy to read what? Law.
You read law?
That boy never wanted to read law. His father forced him to read law. And after reading law, he said, Father, what you want, I've given it to you. But now I want to do my own, what I want. He went into the music industry. Is he not performing today? So most people today, it is what the parents force them to do against their own will.
Is that not a concern that it's not really about what you study in school, your certificate is about your willingness to do well in the ministry and of course the experience you've gathered over the time?
No, certificate is also part of it.
Okay.
Like now, I don't know anything about engineering because I did not read that engineering. I read economics. So when you are talking about economics now, I know to do what we call economic analysis or what we call econometric analysis. I can be able to do it. But when you tell me now, come and do something about mechanical engineer, I never studied it. So Bayo Adelabu is not an engineer. He would have been, the appointment given to me, probably it would have been best if the government has given him the Ministry of Finance. That would have been good because based on his academic field, that would have been better. But giving him the appointment of Minister of Power, probably the government wants him to fall or to fail.
He's a member of the APC, though.
It doesn't count.
Okay.
He did not make Bola Ige to fail when he was appointed the Minister of Power. He failed in that ministry. Okay. He failed because that was not his academic line of duty, because he read law. So,
before we go, if you have 1 minute with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to speak on the appointments that we've seen in the last 2 years, what would you say to him? I
will say the time has come for him to reshuffle his cabinet. That is what I'm going to tell him. Because I always speak truth to power. It's not about I have a twin brother, I'm the president, my twin brother is jobless, so I must fix him into NNPC, I must fix him in CBN. No! We are talking about service to the nation. So that is what I'm going to tell the president. The time has come for you to reshuffle your cabinet and put the right people on ground. Then your harsh economic policy, you have to tread softly because it's really having a negative effect on the lives of ordinary Nigerians.
What about the claims around, he's choosing people from a side? How can we,
The city boy have been choosing what we call Lagos boys. The same thing happened during the days of Buhari. Abba Kyari, of blessed memory, the chief of staff, he was in charge. President Muhammadu Buhari was the president, but he was never in charge of the presidency. That's a big problem. We have a big problem in this country. Okay. A big one.
We know what we can do to solve all of this problem because we've also seen people who are very, intelligent, and then they come to, when they resume office, they still fumble. So sometimes it's not really about them.
What is making them to fumble? I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't know. Probably it's the system.
Okay, maybe the system. However, I think it's a fine place to leave it this morning. A nation that rewards mediocrity will always be governed by it. Today on The Big Story, we've peeled back the layers of job racketeering from recruitment scandals to political appointment, and what we've seen is clear. When merit fails, the entire machinery of governance slows down. Public service should be a place where competence meets purpose, not where opportunity is auctioned to the highest bidder. Thank you, Fino. Ignatius and Boselime for being a part of this discussion.
Thank you for having me
this morning. Thank you so much. All right, the strength of any nation lies in the integrity of its systems and the fairness of its opportunities. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako, and this has been The Big Story. Until next time, let's keep holding the system accountable and keep merit alive. Please stay with us because Trend Watch will come up soon.